Welcome to That's Why We're Friends.
The podcast where we laugh a lot, talk about real life, and hold on to faith through it all.
We're two friends navigating the oldish season of life and celebrating the kind of friendships that make it all a little easier.
So whether you're feeling overwhelmed, hopeful, or just need a laugh, this podcast is for you.
Pull up a chair and join the conversation. Hey, Kara.
Hey, Sarah.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Just running around letting people hit me in parking lots. And
Oh, that sounds violent.
Well, it was not that violent. It was actually...
Did they ask you and you said, okay, hit me?
Well, she didn't really hit me. She hit my car.
Okay. Did she ask and you let her?
Well, no. Why would I do that?
Well, that's what you just said. Going around letting people hit me in parking lots.
Well, valid. I did try to stop her with the honking of my horn. Do you use your horn very often?
Very often. No, I would not very often, but occasionally.
Yeah.
And when I use it, I mean it.
Oh, yeah.
But I wish that there were horn levels.
Uh-huh.
Have we talked about this?
Maybe.
That I could have a polite horn that's like, hey, I'm not at all mad. I think I'm just trying to help you. You don't realize that you can go, and I just want to politely tell you you can go. Like, I really want that option.
Yeah.
So if I had that option, I would probably use my horn a lot more often. Because now I don't use it when I'm in that headspace. I really use it when I'm in the horn headspace. If I'm done trying to be polite, like you need to go, get off your stupid phone, pay attention. So I wish we had horn increments of, hey, really not mad, but hey, yeah, I am a little irked. You need to pay attention and go. So I don't use it as much as I would if I had those levels. And it'd be great if it had also like a scrolling message thing that I could like talk to type and it could actually like tell them what I'm thinking. Like, yes, hey, I saw you. Thank you for letting me in. Like, I want a scrolling board that I can communicate to the people around me to tell them what I'm saying and thinking.
Yeah. I think that's where you wave. You're like,
and I do that.
And you go, thank you.
And I agree. Yes. And I do all of that very like foolishly, weirdly, aggressively to try, because I really want them to know that I'm not rude.
Thankful.
Yes.
Yeah. No, I feel that. Well,
But anyway, back to you. Back to you.
I think we've discussed on this podcast that you are always early to everything.
Yes.
And I am always by the skin of my teeth.
Yes.
And I'm fine with that life. However, on this day, I was going to be by the skin of my teeth plus 5 minutes.
Plus 5 minutes or minus 5 minutes?
Well, 5 more minutes till I get there.
Okay.
So I had a nail appointment with a new nail person. Who's your nail person?
Who we love.
And something had actually happened that like made me late. So it wasn't like me just dilly-dallying. I was going to be late because someone else made me late from a different appointment.
I definitely would never put you in a category of a dilly-dallyer.
No, I do but I also can get wrapped up in like, oh, let me just take this load of laundry out. It won't take that long.
Right.
And that makes me late.
Yeah.
So this day was not that. This day was my previous appointment. That person was late, which put me late.
Yeah.
So I call on my way. I'm like being polite. I called. I said, I'm going to be 5 minutes late. And the person who answered the phone said, oh, I don't think she can see you. She's booked. And I was like, listen, it's 5 minutes. I know she has time to see me. I was like, I will be there. I'm on my way. 5 minutes late. I promise. And so I had to come from a different way around past another business. So I had to come through like a longer section of the parking lot. So I'm coming and it's like a little bit uphill. There's a work truck parked. And it was blocking this lady's view who was backing out of a spot. So I couldn't see her because of the hill and the truck. She couldn't see me. By the time I saw her, I thought, oh, she's going to see me. Well, she didn't. And she kept going. And because my car is newer, I don't think I've honked my horn. Oh. And for a minute, I was like, where's my horn? Where's my horn? And
like so, they moved it to some newfangled place.
And so I'm hitting the horn and swerving at the same time. And she just like backs into me. Oh. Precious believer, Christian woman. Like I got out and I was like, are you okay? And she's like, oh my gosh, you're so nice. That's the first thing you said. And I was like, well, I want to be sure you're okay. And I was like, I think, it's pretty minor. Like, her car had damage, my car had damage. But then I look over and there's all this fluid coming out from my car. And so I was like, it's going to be fine. And she said, should we call the police? And I'm all the time looking at my watch like, nope, I have an appointment. I was like, I have an appointment I really need to keep. And so let's just exchange information. And she's like, are you sure we don't need to call? Like, she just keeps asking. I was like, we don't need to call the police for this minor little fender bender.
What was the liquid in your car, though?
I'll get there.
Oh, okay.
So it's like so minor. I'm like, let me take pictures of your insurance card, give me your name and number, and I'll take pictures of your license plate. Then I was like, I'll find her.
Yeah.
And she told me her name, and then I took a picture of her insurance card, and they matched. So I was like, she's not lying.
Yeah. She's
so anyway, I just like got in the info, and I go, so I was 15 minutes late instead of 5. Yikes. And I walked in, and they looked at me like I was the devil. And I was like, I'm sorry, but I was just in an accident. And that's what put me later than I said. Can she still see me? And they were like, yes, she can see you. But they were mad at me, like so mad. And I was like, no one cared that I was like, I was in an accident. And so I was sitting there the whole time trying to call, the dealership to find out where to take the car for the body work. Plus I called our sales guy is a friend of my son. So I called him. I'm like, hey, some fluid came out for my car. What do we think that could be? He goes, well, it's either wiper fluid or brake fluid.
Oh, dear.
He goes,
those are two very extreme.
Well, I know. He goes, I think we should come tow your car. And this is my bad. I don't leave margin in my day. I had appointments stacked back to back. And I was like, I kind of don't have time to sit here and wait for you to bring a tow truck and bring me a rental car. I said, could you somehow confirm? I was like, this is where she hit. I can send you the pictures. So all while I'm getting my nails done, I'm like trying to and my AirPods wouldn't work. So I'm trying to hold the phone. And anyway, it was wiper fluid.
Okay,
fortunately.
Good. Okay, good.
He went to the body shop. He asked someone who worked in the body shop, and they said it was wiper fluid. So I was like, great. And sure enough, my car, when I got back in, it said low on wiper fluid. And I was like, really, Karen? Thank you for letting me know that.
Yes, I'm aware. I see it on the concrete. Wow. I'm glad that you were okay.
I was okay.
Everybody was okay.
Yes. Everybody was good. So God was faithful in that.
Yes.
And he was faithful in getting me a loan car. A car's getting fixed. And he's always faithful. And that, can you imagine, is the topic of today.
Go figure.
Celebrating God's faithfulness.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So that is a good reminder that even in the midst of what feels like chaos, his faithfulness is always still there. Because again, life with God isn't about a life without things happening. That's not the promise.
Right.
The promise is I'll be with you in the things that happen, not that things won't happen. And I think maybe we say that kind of joking, but I know I need that reminder sometimes, because I can start to drift and think that life with Christ should mean that there's not hard stuff. So I think pausing to remember who he is, remember his faithfulness, and celebrate what he's done up until this point, I think is very, very important for all of us to make sure that we're doing that on a regular basis, because it keeps us in the right mindset and in the right perspective of how we view God and how we view our lives and how we celebrate our lives in him in it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, as we talked about last week, just celebrating the things that he's done also then leads us to building on that faith. And it allows us to keep moving forward with him in our relationship with him. And it puts us on this path of building our faith and building our trust in him, so that when the next thing comes, even if the thing is harder than the last thing, it's easier to trust him.
I can see these examples of his faithfulness. And it's kind of like my own faith isn't necessarily going to build my faithfulness. His faithfulness is what's going to build my faith.
Right.
So there's something that came to mind that I have always loved for a long time that is called, and hopefully I'm not going to say it wrong, the Dayenu.
Okay.
It's Dayeenu.
Okay.
It's a Passover poem / song that basically the Jewish people, maybe they still do, read this at Passover.
Okay.
And it's basically this liturgy of saying all of the things that God had done for his people.
Yeah.
In the Old Testament, and that each one of those along the way, like, it would have been enough. And so it starts with, if he had taken us out of Egypt and not made judgments on them, it would have been enough for us. If he had made judgments on them and had not made them on their gods, it would have been enough for us. If he had made them on their gods and had not killed their firstborn, it would have been enough for us. So he goes through, like, each of the things, like, he could have just done this, and that would have been enough.
Yeah.
But then he could have even, what if he just did that? Well, that would have been enough. And so it's like each layer of it goes on. If he had split the sea for us, but had not taken us through it on dry land, it would have been enough for us. If he had taken us through it on dry land and had not pushed down our enemies in the sea, it would have been enough for us. And so they take each piece of, even like the crossing of the Red Sea, they don't make that one thing.
Wow.
They say, like, just that he split the sea would have been enough.
Yeah.
Forget the fact that he let us go through it on dry ground, and then that he swept our enemies away.
Yeah.
And so this, and it's very long, I won't like keep reading, but they're just going through and acknowledging any one of these things, God, that you did, that would have been enough.
Yeah.
Like, you didn't have to do anything else. And yet, here's something else that you did. But that would have been enough. And so I can't even remember, like, when I first came across that writing, but it has just always impacted me because of just the mindset, the perspective of it, that we could all write our own version of something like that.
Yeah.
Like, you know, that you got me through this, God, man, that would have been enough for me. And then, but yet, you know, you did this and you continue. And so
that actually makes me want to sit down and do that.
Right?
Yeah.
It is a really good exercise to think about, because it gives us that perspective, and it reminds us of what we were talking about, of his faithfulness, that he has always been faithful. And it also can kind of help remind us of, is it not enough yet? Like, am I living from a place that's saying he hasn't done enough?
Yeah.
It goes back to Jesus.
Right.
Like, that Jesus came and lived this life on this earth to show us how to live, and that would have been enough. But then he, you know, died on the cross and became my savior. Well, that would have been enough.
Right.
Or that, you know, that I can even be in relationship with him and spend eternity with him. Well, that would have been enough.
Yeah.
Like, and so there's a version of it that doesn't even begin with our actual lives that already would have been enough. And so I think that's kind of the theme and the practice of taking time to remember and to reflect on his faithfulness.
Yeah, that's really good. It reminded me, when you were talking about that, of this interaction that Jesus had with his disciples near the end of his life. In John 14, he's having, in 13 too, he's having this interaction. He's telling them, I have to go. And they're so confused by this. Yeah. John 14, verse 8, Philip said to him, Lord, show us the Father, and it is enough for us. And Jesus said to him, have I not been with you so long, and you still don't know me, Philip? Whoever has seen me has seen the Father. How can you say, show us the Father? Do you not believe I am in the Father, and the Father is in me? The words that I say to you, I do not speak on my own authority, but the Father who dwells in me does his works. Believe me that I am in the Father, and the Father is in me, or else believe on account of the works themselves. And it's like that day in you part that you read is like, okay, yeah, he's done so much. And even if he hadn't done any of that, Jesus would have been enough. But yet he's so faithful, he can't even stop himself from being so good to us, and just continuing to do things in our lives where we can look at the work and go, yep, that was God. There's no way to deny that that was God. I love I think it's in Joshua where God's like, take these stones and make these marker stones so that when your kids ask someday, you can say, this is where God was faithful. And how in our lives, if we could even just in our own journal, make some marker stones, you know, and be able to say to the world around us, like, God is faithful. And I'm going to celebrate that, that he has been faithful. and that I can trust that he will be faithful.
Yes. Yeah, it's for the world, but it's also for us.
Yeah.
We have one of those in our home. It's a big metal sign thing that says there will be miracles. And it came in a season where after Paul and I got married, he had always had a desire to have his own business. He'd been in the same industry for a long, long time and knew a lot about it. And there was, this just desire in him to kind of go out and kind of do his own thing. And so the second year of our marriage, we really started praying about that and kind of really thinking about having him take those steps to do that. And so he was an employee at a company at the time, and an opportunity was coming up that would be something that he would take to kind of go start his own thing. But there's that awkward kind of in-between place of like, what do you do with that? And as we prayed and processed with people, we both had this weird piece that he was supposed to tell his current employer what his plan was and what this opportunity was. Exact same industry. Like,
so a competitor.
Doing same things. And we just had this crazy, it was scary.
Because definitely the world says, don't do that.
No, you don't tell. I mean, they're going to fire you that moment. Like, you're done.
Right.
We just knew, like, tell him. He did, had a conversation with them. Hey, kind of what's possibly happening. And they were like, okay, great. Well, why don't you, like, finish out whatever the project was, or whatever that he was working on with them. And then he had freedom to, like, start this project as his own independent person with this other contract. There was overlap.
Wow.
So since that day, and that was like 10 years ago, he's never had a gap because it's contract business,
sure.
Like the consulting that he does. Even though we had that first miraculous thing that his company was like, great, awesome. And so we had this overlap, crazy. But the contracts that they work, they're for projects are like a year or maybe they're 2 years long. And it was when that first contract that he had, he knew was going to be ending, then there was like this fear again of like, well, now what's going to happen?
Right.
And it was in that time that we realized we kind of had this pattern of that fear. And that's actually when I bought the plaque because I was like, we need to remember what he did. Like that was crazy.
Yeah.
And he didn't do all of that to now leave us high and dry. Like, it's going to be fine. And so I remember that's when I bought it and ordered it and put it up in our house because I was like, we need that marker stone to see and remember what he did because that was crazy. That's not what happens in the world. And sure enough, like from that day to this one, and now the business has grown and there has never been a gap. There's always been an overlap from project to project. And so that for us was that because we needed it. We were starting to drift back into this fearful place because working for yourself can be scary, especially in the beginning. But that was the turning point for us when we got that marker stone because that stood in a prominent place in our home that was this constant reminder of like what he did.
Yeah. I love that so much. I love that story because it highlights two things. Obviously, God's faithfulness, which is what we're talking about, but it also highlights our own sin pattern of how we fall into, we all have patterns that we fall into, and how kind for God to say like, hey, look at this. There's a pattern here. Yeah. And I think it's easy to read the Bible and get frustrated with those Israelites. Someone's like, again? Really? Again? Why are you forgetting? But we do it. It's so easy. We're fickle and it's just easy to forget.
Our pastor says
we leak. Yeah. And so I just think what an amazing testimony of God's faithfulness in that season for sure. I think about like God's faithfulness when we were trying to have children. We got pregnant with our son, our first child, super easy. And then after that was not so easy. Like we had a stillborn, we had several miscarriages, and there was just this season of thinking, this is never going to happen. We're never going to. And there was, there's this balance of like, well, I have a child. I should be so thankful, but we knew we wanted more children and we felt like that was God's will for our family. And just his faithfulness in When I was finally able to get pregnant with our daughter, there were so many fears of like, oh gosh, could I miscarry again? Could something happen, go wrong? Because our stillborn was later in the pregnancy, which is scary. And when I was pregnant with her, because I was considered high risk after all that, at 6 weeks, my doctor wanted me to go get a sonogram done. I remember I went to get the sonogram done, and they were like, wow, she has a really strong heartbeat. We normally can't really detect that this early, but it's there. You're good. And I was like, great. So it's like you trust this worldly piece of like, okay, well, good. The doctor and the sonogram and my blood work says I'm good. But then a week later, I started spotting. And so my doctor was like, go back for another sonogram. And I went in at 7 weeks of my pregnancy, and I went in for the sonogram, and the doctor's like doing the sonogram. And he goes, I'm sorry to tell you, but your baby has died and there's nothing in your uterus. Your body has obviously reabsorbed, everything. And I just had this like, nope, that's not right. That's not right. Something's wrong here. I don't think that's right. The doctor I saw for the sonogram was a high risk doctor. And my regular doctor called me that afternoon, and she's like, hey, I got the results. You're going to need to come in for a DNC. And I was like, nope, something's not right here.
Wow.
I feel pregnant. And she said, yes, you can feel pregnant. Like your hormones can still stay for a while. And I can't remember what the test is called, but there's a test they can do. Like they do blood work every 48 hours. And your levels are supposed to double. I should know these names as I'm like sitting here saying it. But anyway, so I was like, I want that test. And she's like, listen, I can do that test, but as long as the stuff is in your body, it could show. And so we did the testing, and she calls me again. She's like, well, your levels are continuing to go up, but she just like gives me this bad news.
This
but
science piece.
Yes. Yeah. And so she scheduled me for a DNC, and I got there and I said, I won't do this procedure without another sonogram. And I don't know what it was in me, but I knew I was still pregnant. And I go in for the sonogram, and the sonogram tech is like messing with this machine. Like she keeps asking me weird questions, like who told you about the, like what was the last test result? Like she's just asking me all these questions, and I'm like, what is wrong with you, chick? Why are you asking me these questions? Just do the sonogram. And so she says, stay right here, as if I was going to get up off the table. She's like, stay right here. I'll be back. And she comes back in with a doctor, and that doctor looks at the machine. He messes with some stuff. He asks her some weird questions, and he turns the like video thing around, and he said, I'm not sure who told you your baby was dead, but she's right here. And I was like, what? Like, it's hard for me even now to think about that. She, like, I almost had a DNC, which would have killed her. And just God's faithfulness in that. But then there was fear. Like, there was all this fear, And so God was kind through that whole pregnancy of revealing a pattern of this is how you think, and this is where you need to trust me. You think about his faithfulness, it's also discipline for us. His faithfulness is him disciplining us because he loves us. And he's like, hey, by the way you're thinking isn't my righteousness. It isn't trusting me. It isn't walking the path of abundance and fullness that I have for you. And so if we could sit down together and you could remember where I've been faithful and trust me with that, I promise you that whether the results are what you want them to be or not, I will work them for your good.
Okay, well, I wasn't planning on as many tissues wrapping up our celebration conversation.
I know we're
today.
Celebrating and we're both crying.
But that's important. And I think even just what you said about the discipline part of it, I hear it both ways of his discipline for us, but like it is a discipline for us to practice walking in and believing in his faithfulness. That is hard sometimes. And in the face of real circumstances, that can be hard to choose to fight for what he says and what he's telling us over what we feel or what we see or what we're experiencing. And fear is real, But he addresses that, and it's his perfect love that casts out that fear.
Right.
And reminds us of why he is trustworthy and why he is faithful. And we can get caught because we can only think with our human brains. And so the idea
seriously.
even of his goodness and his faithfulness is something that we really and truly just can't even fully understand or comprehend this side of heaven.
Yeah.
And so because we're never going to encounter another human being who is anywhere close to as faithful as he is, as good as he is, it's okay that we struggle in that. And I think he understands that. I don't think it makes him angry that we struggle in understanding it and living from it. I think he wants us to always continue to try and come back to him and to come back to what's true. But I think it's okay that that's hard for our little finite minds to comprehend the vastness of him and who he is.
Yeah. I think too, like we think about his faithfulness, we can only have faith in him because he is faithful. But I recently, and I think we talked about this maybe a month or so ago on the podcast, about how all of the armor of God is stuff he gives us, but our faith. We have to pick up our own faith and trust him. And then after we had talked about that, I came across a verse, and it's in 1 John. I don't remember the exact location of it, but it says your faith will overcome the world. And it's like you think about, okay, our faith extinguishes all the fiery darts of the evil one and overcomes the world. But that is because our faith is in the one who does. Like it is in God. It is in him. And we trust him because he gives us truth and righteousness and salvation and his faithfulness. Like he gives us all those things. And so then our faith gets to take us on these paths where we get to overcoming the world isn't like, I'm victorious over. No, we're not victorious over Satan. God is. Yeah. And we get to, though, walk in that because he's made the path for us to do that. That thing you read, the Jewish poem, Dayenu poem, it's like, okay, yeah, because of God's faithfulness, we got to walk across on dry ground.
Yeah.
Because of God's faithfulness, our enemies were swallowed up by water. Yes, and so how about because of God's faithfulness, I get to tell my anxiety to flee. Yeah. How about because of God's faithfulness, I get to take every thought captive. It's because of him that we get to overcome.
Yes. And that's such a great reminder because then it puts the weight of it where it belongs.
Yes.
And it's not on us.
Yeah.
And again, I think the celebration piece we kind of talked about last week, we kind of had this aha moment like while we were talking of that maybe just the whole win of celebration is just acknowledging him at all, is celebrating him. And when I do that, it reminds us, and that the Dayenu, so much of that is a reminder of position. Who is God? Who is the one doing all the things? Yeah. It's him, and he's doing those things for us. We're just the ones who receive it, and then hopefully the ones who express gratitude and let it bring us to a place of humility, not a place of expectation and entitlement, because that's where I don't want to ever drift to. Yeah. Is that here's my list of like all that I'm still expecting. I want to always have the list of all he has done. Yeah. And I want that to be the list that I think about more, especially if it feels like it's in a hard season. Yeah. I think it's better to go to that list of everything that he's done and his faithfulness up to this point.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love that. Is there a time you can think of in your life where you went through something that you thought was like going to be the end of you, but it actually turned out that God increased your faith through it?
I mean, I definitely felt like losing my dad was that in a way, just because the sadness and the missing him part felt so big. And I would say it strengthened my faith, obviously, in just the sense that God did get me through that season, but I also was able to experience a lot of gratitude that I had the years that I had with him, and even in the role I was able to be in kind of as his primary caretaker person that last season of his life, dealing with Parkinson's, and that we were just still together so much and got to have so much of that season. And because of my season of life of, raising the kids and, co-parenting, but not working full time, and the job I did have, I was able to step out of that for the last year that he was alive as just the needs increased. And so just gratitude for his faithfulness, that season looked the way that it looked, that I got to be with him in the way that I was with him. Yeah. And there was a season of closeness, I feel like, with my brother and I, walking through that together. And so I think it strengthened my faith by experiencing it and surviving it, like, and knowing like I lived through that loss.
Yeah.
And that is so much of like the grief journey, where feeling like it's, we're never going to get through it to something different. And it's not that like it ends, life just gets bigger around it.
Yeah.
And so I think it's mostly now in just the gratitude I have for our relationship and just for what that relationship was. So
yeah.
What about you?
Actually, I would say my dad also, the 30th anniversary of his death was last month. And it was so weird because it just so happened that on that day I was running with a friend, and I just was like, oh, I just realized this morning that it was like the 30th anniversary of his death, when I wrote in my journal that morning. And she said, she was kind of asking me the story of his death, and it was traumatic. He was in the hospital for 17 days and had like over 20 surgeries. And for months after he died, if I thought about it too long, I would be physically ill. And she said to me, did you like do counseling or EMDR or anything for that? And I was like, no. I barely knew what was up. I was 21 and I don't even know if EMDR was a thing then. I don't, and we sure weren't thinking like, we need to see a counselor. Yeah. It was more like you just figure it out and get through it. But for me, I like held on to the hem of his garment, with all my might, because I couldn't pray for 3 months. I just would sit and weep. And it took 16 years for God to heal me from that. It was the craziest thing. But when he did, it was like a miraculous healing that freed me to celebrate his life and what was. And it's funny because sometime within the few months after my dad died, I remember hearing a radio preacher talk about grieving the loss of someone. And he said, it'd be like if you lost your right arm today. You would always miss your right arm, but you figure out how to get through life without your right arm.
Great analogy.
And I was like, oh yeah. And at the time I was thinking, there's no way I can't get through life without him. Like, that was my dad. I need him here. But you do. You learn to keep moving on without that piece of you. Yeah. And the great thing about being a believer is that we have the hope, and we know beyond a doubt that he is celebrating and he is praising the Lord and face to face with him. And so, I think it was the same. It was my dad. I thought that was going to break me, but it increased my faith in the Lord and just his faithfulness to me.
Love that.
Yeah.
Is there one moment from this past year with the podcast where you feel like you saw God at work?
We had Jill Miller on, I think in February.
Sometime in 2026.
Okay. It was early this year. She runs an organization called Teacher Be Still. And she was talking about, in all her research of that verse where God says, be still and know that I am God, how that be still portion is actually hold your peace. Like stop and just wait. Doesn't mean there's no, like, I don't need you to take a next step. It just means hold your peace. And it's funny because we, in our family, hit kind of a hard thing in March. And that kept coming back to me. I would lay down in bed at night and God would say, hold your peace, hold your peace. And it was just like, it was the thing for the next several months that got me through. And so I think, honestly, for me, this podcast is therapeutic.
Yeah.
I don't know about our listeners. I hope and pray that it is. But for me, it's therapeutic because I feel like we talk about things on here, and it's just another sign to say, like, find your people.
Yeah.
Get your community. You need to be with godly people on a regular basis where you are talking about life, and you're integrating the truth of who God is into that life. And so for us, this is part of what we do, and this is part of that, like having our godly people and bringing in our other friends on our podcast. And so for me, that was definitely what it was. What about you?
Well, funny enough, it was another guest from this year, Rachel Joy, when she was kind of telling the story of how she first found the land and the building and everything in Louisville. It's where it's this faith walk that you're in, this kind of walking on water, like totally dependent on like, what is God doing? Like looking for him, and these big kind of asks or big things that maybe you're sensing that the Lord is like leading you to do that feels kind of scary. Like there's a difference between like worldly fear and like the faith kind of, this feels a little bit scary, like walking on water, like, you know, how Peter felt when it's like, okay, this feels a little bit scary, but I feel like it is you asking me. And so I'm going to do it and have this big faith. And it really just reminded me of what that feels like and wanting that. And I feel like with school ending and, you know, starting a counseling business in January, now I feel like I am in that again a little bit. Yeah. And it's fun. It's fun and scary to feel like, okay, like even with like the name of the counseling business, like you and I've been talking about that, and like the, you know, what I feel like God is saying the name is feels a little scary. It just feels, but it feels like it's the right thing. It feels like it's that this is the faith lane. Like there's a safe lane and there's a faith lane. And being in the faith lane really is fun, but there's also, it's a little bit scary because it's just like, I don't know, like, but it's also, it's that little kid. Like I remember, this is going to be such a weird left turn, but I remember the first time I went to Six Flags over Texas, when I would have been 4 or 5 years old.
Oh, wow.
But I literally remember in the car turning, like you turn down that one street to go in and you can see like some of the roller coasters. And I remember feeling that queasiness in my stomach, that like scared but excited, like all of just this energy. And like, we went all the time. All my grandparents lived in Dallas when we lived in Lubbock. And so we went to Six Flags every summer. That was part of our family vacation, and I just loved it. But I remember that very first day and just seeing the roller coasters and that mix of adrenaline, fear, excitement. And that's really what it feels. And then, of course, the day was amazing. Like I had so many amazing memories of going to like, you know, roller coaster parks with my family and specifically with my dad and my brother. And so it's kind of like that. But I just remember hearing her talk that day of like that I want to have some of those stories again. And I don't think we live 365, like, you know, every day of every year of our life is that. I think it ebbs and flows. But it really reminded me of wanting to be living in a faith walk like that again. Yeah. And what's exciting is I feel like I am kind of entering into that with the counseling business and kind of this fear, excitement, looking forward to, and all of the pieces.
I love that. Yeah. That's great. It's funny. This is another left turn, so we're going to be totally off topic. We've never talked about Six Flags. That was like my favorite.
Are you serious?
Oh yeah. I used to be an absolute roller coaster junkie. Yeah, I loved it. I don't know if now I could do it.
I can't do it now. I will pass out.
Well, like, I get like a little bit of vertigo.
I see spots.
I see the light.
I see no, the opposite.
Walk towards the light.
I see black spot. Like the last few times I've been on a roller coaster, I knew they were my last times because my body, I don't know what change, I guess just getting old, but literally am fighting to stay conscious because my body's trying to like pass out. Yeah.
So. Okay. Well, under the heading of we talk about things on here we know nothing about.
Right.
I remember actually after I had our daughter, it was really weird. I started getting like vertigo if I would go on a carousel. Like,
Oh, wow.
and a neighbor of mine was like, oh, I just read this article that like in your 30s, something switches in your brain and it causes you, like your equilibrium isn't as strong as it was.
Okay.
Look, see, we just went down this whole science path I can't prove. I
But
have no
I
truth,
believe you.
or I can't tell you it's real.
Yeah.
But
I believe it.
well, that's good because I mean, it happened to you and it happened to me.
did.
So yeah, maybe.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. Well, this to me has just been a great month of
Yes.
celebration, and
Yes.
we're gonna next month, September, we're talking about purpose, but next week's gonna be a little bit of carryover
Yes.
because it will be our 1
1 year
year.
anniversary.
Yep, and so we're gonna celebrate.
I'm
I have a
excited.
surprise for you.
Oh no, I'm so excited.
Yeah, don't say oh no.
Well,
Oh yes.
Oh no, but like, okay, yay.
Yeah, so we're gonna celebrate next week.
I'm excited.
I know, me too.
Is it a s'mores cake?
I don't think I can do that.
Okay.
I did try to figure that out, but I couldn't make it work because I have to drive all the way to Waco
Right.
to get that s'mores cake.
Well, that would be a good surprise, though.
It would be a good surprise. We'll see, but I don't think that's going to be it. Okay, what are you going to do to enjoy the life God's given you this week? Pause, look at the calendar.
I don't know if we've talked about this yet or not. I'm not like a massive birthday month person. I know some people who are like from day 1 to day 30 or 31, like that's my celebration. So maybe I'm going to try to embrace that because next month is my birthday month.
Yes, that's correct.
My birthday is like right in the middle of the month, almost. It's the 14th. So maybe I'm going to carry over my celebration and kind of try to be one of those like celebrate the month.
Oh, I think you
birthday
should.
things.
You've never used the like excuse, it's my birthday month.
I don't think so.
Oh,
and I'm the
Sarah.
only, let me think before I say this. I'm the only September, well, we do have some new, so my daughter-in-law is in September.
Okay.
So like out of our core, there weren't any other September birthdays, but my daughter-in-law, so we're integrating in some other September birthdays.
Yeah, but the thing is that you get to use the it's my birthday month within like your own household.
Okay.
And now that you're empty nesters, Jeff is really good at this. When it is his birthday month, man, he from the day one to day 30, he is like all about it being his birthday month.
Okay.
So you should.
Well, maybe even more so now that I am sharing it. And I do love sharing it with my daughter-in-law. And so we've talked about maybe like doing dinner, doing something with all of us. But so I'm going to kick off my birthday month celebration.
Okay, great. I think you should do that.
Yeah. What about you?
I am going to be packing for a little trip to our favorite destination.
Yes, I know.
That's really what I've got this weekend. Another friend's birthday is this weekend, and I'm kind of waiting to hear about some plans. But other than that, just packing to go on a little trip without you. But it's a short trip.
It's a short trip.
It's not long.
And my year of not really traveling is coming to an end. So
That's
you
valid.
and more so your husband better get ready because
Next year we're traveling
the travel
a lot.
ban is lifted and Sarah's going to be traveling because she's not going to be in school.
Yeah, that's good.
So I'm
All
going to
right.
pop up on these random trips.
You're going to just pop up on our trips?
That'd be funny. To me and to you.
Yeah, to
Not
me and to you.
necessarily to
It's
everybody
the
else.
reel. Have you seen the reel on Instagram that's like, I'm here on this trip with the love of my life. Not sure why these other two guys are here.
Yeah.
And then it's like the two friends.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's great. All right. Well, this has been a great month. I've enjoyed this a lot. And until next week.
Enjoy the life God give you.
Yep.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks so much for spending time with us today on That's Why We're Friends.
We hope you laughed, felt encouraged, and are walking away with a little more hope for your day.
If you love this episode, make sure to follow the podcast so you never miss what's next.
And share it with a friend who needs a little encouragement because that's why we're friends.
Some products or services we mention may be paid promotions. Any advice shared should be confirmed with a qualified professional. Our conversations and opinions are meant for encouragement and entertainment only.